What's going on?
Hey, Jeff, and how are you doing today?
Hey, doing great. We're waiting in a few minutes. The announcement, Donald Trump becoming the 12th Republican candidate in the presidential race. Your thoughts?
Well, I can't wait. I can't wait till he announces it. Make a real boring race exciting.
Yeah, I guess, when you got Bush and you got Clinton, I mean, they're, been around the block so long, the Donald will shake things up a little bit.
Well,
Jeb, of course, launched yesterday. So it seems like every day we got a new candidate jumping in.
and just think next week it's Bobby.
Well, Bobby's a week from tomorrow. Yeah,
Tomorrow.
he's going to be on the 24th. And I got an invitation, by the way, via a friend.
Oh, really?
I didn't get one directly from Governor Jindal.
See.
Seems like the Republican Party of Louisiana is sending it out to certain people. Even though I was former executive director, I didn't get a direct invitation. I wonder why.
I don't know. I don't know. But you can always go as media. I mean,
Yes.
certainly, yeah, absolutely. In fact, we'll cover it. Okay.
Yeah. So that's going to be a week from tomorrow. So right now, I think there are 12 with Trump. And then I don't know, there might be one that gets in between now and when Jindal gets in. I did see the latest poll, Steve. And interestingly, Dr. Ben Carson was leading, but he's only got 11%. I mean, this thing is so, I guess, confused in so many different directions. But one thing that is consistent is Jindal is pretty much in either last place or second to last place in almost every poll that I've seen, including the latest one.
Sure. Well, he'll be an official candidate, and we'll see exactly what happens. And keep in mind that, he's going to tell his story out there in terms of Louisiana and the budget, and it's all false as far as I'm concerned. A lot of it's false, I should say, particularly related to the budget and the things that he has said about it already, that we've had a balanced budget without raising any taxes, which is totally bogus. But, the thing is that, he has his chance to get out there. And that's what, he's been waiting for. He's been working for it now for 8 years, maybe even before then. So now he's got his chance.
And I think before then, I think Steve, ever since he was a little kid, he changed his name to Bobby. He was probably thinking about, hey, one day I want to run for president. I think this has been like a lifelong ambition for him.
Well, some people have raised that issue in terms of, I'm not saying way back then, but certainly in terms of his name, changing his name, and then certainly, his religion. And so, I don't know. I can say that there are other things that certainly point to his wanting to be more acceptable, assimilating into American culture. Mm-hmm. So, again, now he's got his chance. And we here in Louisiana, look, face it, the great thing about the legislative session is that it might be the last day that we see Bobby here in Louisiana.
Well, it's now done, and the scorecards are out. The report cards are out. Have you issued your grade for the session?
No, I'm going to save that for later. No, I want to see exactly. It's really hard to say. No question, in terms of the legislature, they had an incredible task in front of them. And I think all in all, I think they did a fair job. It's hard for me to say good. I know they worked hard. They worked really hard, and some guys and some ladies really, really, gave their all. What really bothers me a lot is, like I said before, if you're going to balance a budget and if you're not going to raise taxes, okay, then make the cuts and raise taxes if you have to, or fees if you have to, if you're not going to call it a tax, but balance a budget. But don't use a friggin' scheme, okay? A fraud. That's what it is. It's a fraud. And,
identify for our listeners what the fraud is so they'll know. What is the fraud?
Okay. Well, the fraud deals with the issue of SAVE. That's the acronym for the legislation that passed that allowed Bobby Jindal to be in good stead with Grover Norquist.
How did it do that exactly?
Okay, well, basically what happened is the legislature decided, because they needed money for education, so they went ahead and they raised fees and they raised taxes on businesses primarily. Business got hit really badly. Okay, so what happened was they declared a fee that they're going to roughly $1,600 fee that each college student would have to pay. Okay, and that would be a fee. Now, keep in mind, fees are not considered
taxes.
Taxes, according to.
But they are. I mean,
well,
they are.
I think they are. I mean, but
money's coming out of our pocket.
Money's coming out of somebody's pocket.
Well, I'm a parent.
Well, I understand that. Well, and in your case, yeah, it's a tax for sure. Yeah. So, but it doesn't affect everybody. But I don't see a distinction personally. But Bobby does, and so does Norquist. So it's a fee. So then what happens is once they assess the fee, then automatically they are given, or they are granted a tax credit for the fee. And the tax credit now is assigned to the Board of Regents. So what happens is the money that comes in from taxes somehow morphs into a fee that is transferred into a tax credit that goes to the Board of Regents to pay for the university. So money comes from taxes. Yeah, that's the bottom line. I mean,
bottom line is we're raising taxes.
You're raising taxes, and just admit it that you're raising taxes.
It's a shell game to try to hide it.
Mm-hmm. It's an incredible shell game, and I think that Jindal extorted the people of Louisiana, because the thing is that look, you can do things for your own public purpose, okay, if you're an elected official,
right?
But when you start doing things solely for yourself, for your own self-interest, you don't have a right to do
aspirations.
That. You don't have a right to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you give your money? Give the same money over to your kids, okay, or to your uncle or something like that. It's for you personally. It's not for anybody else. I mean, if that's not extortion, really, I honestly don't know what it is.
So he sold us out for his own
personal good. That's
aspirations.
That's it. And I think that people ought to just stand up and call it what it is.
Well, the legislature spent his whole 2 terms playing lapdog to him. I mean, they really never. Maybe this year they finally did it a little, but they did a horrible job of really standing up to him.
Well, you're right. They really did, and they did a horrible job this year too. Look what they could have done. I mean, number one, we're not going to find out who he is, what he has done during his administration. We're not going to find that out, okay? Because we don't have right to his email. Now, his private email and his public email. So what's going to happen? I mean, we're trying to get the information from the next governor, as I understand, assuming that Jindal is going to approve that legislation to allow light into the administration.
Well, I mean, he ran on a platform of ethics and transparency, and he felt that was important for other branches of government, just not his own.
Precisely. And, I'm very disappointed, because I really, honestly, truly did believe at the very beginning he was going to make a difference in that regard. I mean, I really did believe that he would. I was, and I know that you did too. Okay. And I know that when I was at his, when he made his announcement, the same day that, by the way, that Vitter made his announcement or his mea culpa announcement. So the same day, I was at both. Okay. And what a difference. And, Jindal came out there and he was just, drilled ethics. Well, I got to tell you, he's, as far as I'm concerned, the most embarrassing governor we have had since in my lifetime, and that includes our special guest on Policy of the Punch.
Right.
I had to get it in.
Hold that thought, because we'll come back and talk about that, and then we've got a guy who some believe is going to be the next governor on our panel Thursday night. And then we're going to take some calls. 504-556-9696. Steve Sabludowsky with us. Jeff Crouere here. Ringside WGSO 990 AM, WGSO.com. Cruising through an open line. Love to hear from you. Talking about everything from the presidential race to the state budget. Legislative session is now ended. Governor's race heating up. This billboard getting a lot of talk. ABV, anybody but Vitter. And some saying that, there's going to be a runoff. The question is, who is David Vitter going to be in the runoff with? And the guy we're going to have on the panel Thursday night for Politics with a Punch is probably the odds-on favorite to make that runoff. All right, lot to get to on a busy Tuesday morning. Let's take a brief time out. We'll be right back. Join us Thursday night for Politics with a Punch. It's Louisiana's version of Politically Incorrect. It's a kickoff to our 14th season at the Eiffel Society, 2040 St. Charles Avenue. Doors open at 6 for dining and networking. The show starts at 8. Our great panel includes former Governor Edwin Edwards, wannabe Governor John Bell Edwards, and Seafood King Al Scramuzza. I serve as host of this great panel, and I want you to be there. Tickets available at the door or for a discount at ringsidepolitics.com. See ya Thursday night.
Katie's Restaurant, open 7 days a week, located at 3701 Iberville, just a block off the Canal Street streetcar line. Rated #1 neighborhood restaurant by Gambit and New Orleans Magazine, also featured on Food Network's Diners, Drive-Ins, and Diners. Serving the best in New Orleans Creole cuisine, from fresh Louisiana seafood to gourmet po' boys, pizzas from their Brooklyn-style stone pizza oven, featuring daily specials for lunch and dinner, and a Sunday brunch that'll make the angels sing. Let Katie's cater your next event. Call 488-6582. Check out our menu online at katie'satmidcity.com.
Join me, Mitch Gibbs, every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. for New Orleans at Night, live on WGSO Radio, 990 a.m. in New Orleans.
Coming up tonight on WLAE-TV at 7, get the latest on advances in medicine on Doctors New Orleans. At 8, learn more about education in our city on Our Schools, Our Future. And at 9, laws and legal matters are discussed on John Redmond, Power of Attorney. It's only on WLAE New Orleans Public Television. Watch us on Cox Channel 14, Charter Channel 11 and 711, and AT&T and Satellite Channel 32.
Join me, Greg Douglas, on Fan to Fan Radio, your college sports headquarters in New Orleans. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. on WGSO 990 and WGSO.com.
Hi, this is Jim Spyro. Join me every Wednesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on 990 WGSO or WGSO.com. Remember, your influence counts. Use it. See you then.
You can catch more flies with honey, but who the heck wants flies? If something's bugging you, Ringside Politics with a Punch is on the air now. Give Jeff Crouere a call at 556-9696.
Hey, we're back. Steve Sabludowsky with us, BayouBuzz.com. We're doing a Google Hangout at BayouBuzz.com. Also, of course, right here in the airways, WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com, 504-556-9696 to join us. Jeff at WGSO.com's email address. Of course, we kick off our 14th season of Politics with a Punch coming up Thursday night. And an awesome panel we put together. Steve, very excited to see former governor of Louisiana, Edwin Edwards, and a guy who wants to be governor of Louisiana, John Bell Edwards. And what I think a lot of people don't know is they're not related.
Yeah, and they're going to punch it out on live on stage at Politics with the Punch. That's a real coup. I mean, honestly, truly, we hope to have some other gubernatorial candidates in the future.
Yeah.
But this is, certainly anytime you have Governor Edwards in front of people, I mean, it's always, I mean, he's just really special in terms of his wit and now his history. So, it'd be really interesting to, see exactly what he has to say. And tell us who else is on the panel.
Yeah, we've got a great lineup. Those two, of course, one of my all-time favorites, Al Scramuzza, the seafood king of New Orleans, of course, legendary businessman, seafood city TV star. He'll be there.
And he's a big supporter of EWE. I remember the last time we had him on the panel, and we talked about Edwards. And I think at the time Edwards was running for Congress.
Right.
And, I think it was 1960. No, I'm kidding. But look, he was really a big supporter. I mean, he had a lot of really good things to say. So who knows? Maybe he'll have a plate of seafood,
right?
Crawfish,
right? And then we're going to be joined by a flirty girl, Lauren Tom, who has been on our panel before, and she's just an incredible, dynamic young lady, extremely successful with her business. So we're excited she's going to be joining us. Bob Mann, who I know well, columnist, historian, author. So very pleased to have his participation. And then two well-known analysts, one coming from the world of sports, Mike Detillier, who is a draft expert, NFL expert, and then Chick Foray, who's a legal expert, and certainly looking forward to talking to him about the Benson trial and all the different ways that has sort of been moving in some unexpected directions. So it's going to be a lot of fun, Steve, and people can get tickets in advance at ringsidepolitics.com or at the door at the 2040 St. Charles Avenue location of the Eiffel Society, and doors open at 6.
That's really a great program. It really is. And I know that you work extremely hard in putting this together. Really, I know Bob Mann is very excited. And people know that he writes a column at Bob Mann blog. And also his column is picked up by the Times-Picayune. So, we have three people.
And I know he loves Bobby Jindal.
Well, and actually, the three of them do, Edwards, and Mann.
Right.
So we'll see who mans up.
Yeah. All right. Let's take some calls. 504-556-9696. Now joining us, our contributor, who is a former resident of New Orleans, now living in Atlanta, holding down the fort there for displaced New Orleanians. David Bellinger, a.k.a. the Flaming Liberal, is with us. What's going on, Flaming Liberal?
Burning up Atlanta better than Sherman did, Jeff.
What's happening?
Jeff, before I go on to talk about climate change or global warming, I'd like to know, would you support what was part of my platform when I planned to run for mayor before Katrina hit, converting the old Lincoln Beach into like a Riviera-type resort and charging for parking and concession and admittance and having a nude or topless beach and using the money to give city workers better pay, particularly the police officer, the police department? Would you support that, Jeff?
That's probably not the top of my list, Flaming Liberal. I mean, I think we already have enough we're dealing with Mardi Gras and the Bourbon Street and now the World Nude Bike Ride in New Orleans. I mean, you really think we need more nudity around here, Flaming Liberal?
Well, Jeff, it would be strictly voluntary, and I don't see anything offensive about the human body, particularly the female body, of course.
Yeah, but we do have obscenity laws, and they're obviously not being enforced because you had a bunch of nude bike riders bicycling around, and they weren't arrested.
But nobody would force anybody to go to this resort. Look, it works in Europe. And by the way, before I go on to climate change, you can never accuse Steve Scalise of not knowing what side of the bread his bread is buttered, because according to the Picayune, he's 17th among Congress people who accepted campaign contributions, who support the president's initiative for fast-track trade agreement.
And that was a very good point. And it seems like every member of Congress, and at least our delegation, received more money from businesses that supported Obamacare than businesses opposed to it. But even though he did get more money from groups in favor of that legislation, Representative John Fleming and Representative Cedric Richmond voted against it.
Okay.
But Steve Scalise, he got massive amounts of money from businesses that were supporting the Trade Protection Authority.
Well, look, the guy, just like one of Vitta's horse, the guy has his price. Now, Jeff, as a person who is a climate change denier, can you explain to me in simple terms? Now, the last time I checked my science, when water is warmed, it expands. Now, there's only one thing that causes water to expand, as far as I know, is heat, as in global warming. Why do we have undeniable, undisputed facts by satellites that can measure the increase in the ocean level rising? NASA satellites can do this with extreme accuracy using laser technology. The oceans are rising, Jeff. That's undeniable. Why, if the planet is not warming, what phenomena is causing the oceans to rise? That's all I'd like to know.
Well, I'm asking you this, Flaming Liberal. We've had all kinds of different reports saying it's undeniable that the climate is getting warmer, yet I just heard a report, then I just shared it with folks, that says there's now a cooling trend in the U.S. for the last 10 years. I've heard reports that, the ice caps are melting, and then I get other reports saying, no, they're expanding, they're growing. So it seems to me that all these undeniable bits of information aren't so undeniable, Flaming Liberal. You have conflicting information, conflicting reports, conflicting data.
Well, Jeff, if you would graph, since the time of the Industrial Revolution, when we started using fossil fuels, if you would graph decade by decade, the trend is almost, it's undeniable. The trend where each decade.
Well, why is the last decade cooling? Why are we in a cooling trend the last 10 years?
Well, we're not in according to the National Oceanographic and whatever it's called atmospheric administration.
Well, you must have missed my report that I just made earlier, Flaming Liberal. Please listen, because I'll give it out again. Hang on, Steve. We got to get the Blaze news update that's coming up on 10 o'clock. And take more of your calls, 504-556-9696. We brought up the whole global warming issue. Of course, Pope Francis going to be making that one of the major initiatives of his papacy. And he'll be releasing a paper on climate change later on this week. 504-556-9696 to contribute. We'll be right back.
This is Jeff. Thousands. So nice. Thank you very much. That's really nice. Thank you. It's great to be at Trump Tower. It's great to be in a wonderful city, New York. And it's an honor to have everybody here. This is beyond anybody's expectations. There's been no crowd like this. And I can tell you, some of the candidates, they went in, they didn't know the air conditioner didn't work. They sweated like dogs. They didn't know the room was too big because they didn't have anybody there. How are they going to beat ISIS? I don't think it's going to happen. Our country is in serious trouble. We don't have victories anymore. We used to have victories, but we don't have them. When was the last time anybody saw us beating, let's say, China in a trade deal? They kill us. I beat China all the time. All the time. When did we beat Japan at anything? They send their cars over by the millions. And what do? When was the last time you saw a Chevrolet in Tokyo? It doesn't exist, folks. They beat us all the time. When do we beat Mexico at the border? They're laughing at us, at our stupidity. And now they're beating us economically. They are not our friend, believe me. But they're killing us economically. The U.S. has become a dumping ground for everybody else's problems. Thank you. It's true. And these are the best and the finest. When Mexico sends its people, they're not sending their best. They're not sending you. They're not sending you. They're sending people that have lots of problems, and they're bringing those problems with us. They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. But I speak to border guards, and they tell us what we're getting. And it only makes common sense. It only makes common sense. They're sending us not the right people. It's coming from more than Mexico. It's coming from all over South and Latin America, and it's coming probably from the Middle East. But we don't know because we have no protection and we have no competence. We don't know what's happening. And it's got to stop. And it's got to stop fast. Islamic terrorism is eating up large portions of the Middle East. They become rich. I'm in competition with them. They just built a hotel in Syria. Can you believe this? They built a hotel. When I have to build a hotel, I pay interest. They don't have to pay interest because they took the oil that when we left Iraq, I said we should have taken. So now ISIS has the oil. And what they don't have, Iran has. And in and I will tell you this, and I said it very strongly, years ago, I said, and I love the military, and I want to have the strongest military that we've ever had, and we need it more now than ever, but I said, don't hit Iraq, because you're going to totally destabilize the Middle East. Iran is going to take over the Middle East. Iran and somebody else will get the oil. And it turned out that Iran is now taking over Iraq. Think of it. Iran is taking over Iraq. And they're taking it over big league. We spent $2 trillion in Iraq. $2 trillion. We lost thousands of lives. Thousands in Iraq. We have wounded soldiers who I love. I love. They're great. All over the place. Thousands and thousands of wounded soldiers. And we have nothing. We can't even go there. We have nothing. And every time we give Iraq equipment, the first time a bullet goes off in the air, they leave it. Last week I read 2,300 Humvees. These are big vehicles. were left behind for the enemy. 2,000, you would say maybe 2, maybe 4. 2,300 sophisticated vehicles they ran, and the enemy took them.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, hey.
Hey, just want to listen to a few more minutes of this, and then we'll go back, okay?
Last quarter, it was just announced, our gross domestic product, a sign of strength, right? But not for us. It was below zero. Who ever heard of this? It's never below zero. Our labor participation rate was the worst since 1978. But think of it, GDP below zero. Horrible labor participation rate. And our real unemployment is anywhere from 18 to 20%. Don't believe the 5.6. Don't believe it. That's right. A lot of people up there can't get jobs. They can't get jobs because there are no jobs, because China has our jobs and Mexico has our jobs. They all have our jobs. But the real number is anywhere from 18 to 19 and maybe even 21%. And nobody talks about it because it's a statistic that's full of nonsense. Our enemies are getting stronger and stronger by the day, and we as a country are getting weaker. Even our nuclear arsenal doesn't work. It came out recently. They have equipment that's 30 years old. They don't even know if it worked. And I thought it was horrible when it was broadcast on television, because boy, does that send signals to Putin and all of the other people that look at us and they say, that is a group of people and that is a nation that truly has no clue. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing. We have a disaster called the big lie, Obamacare. Obamacare. Yesterday it came out that costs are going for people up 29, 39, 49, and even 55%. And deductibles are through the roof. You have to get hit by a tractor, literally a tractor, to use it, because the deductibles are so high, it's virtually useless. It is a disaster. And remember the $5 billion website. $5 billion we spent on a website. And to this day, it doesn't work. A $5 billion website. I have so many websites. I have them all over the place. I hire people. They do a website. It costs me $3. $5 billion website. Well, you need somebody, because politicians are all talk, no action. Nothing's going to get done. They will not bring us, believe me, to the promised land. They will not. As an example, I've been on the circuit making speeches, and I hear my fellow Republicans, and they're wonderful people. I like them. They all want me to support them. They don't know how to bring it about. They come up to my office. I'm meeting with 3 of them in the next week, and they don't know. Are you running? Are you not running? Could we have your support? What do we do? How do we do it? I like them. And I hear their speeches, and they don't talk jobs, and they don't talk China. When was the last time you heard China's killing us? They're devaluing their currency to a level that you wouldn't believe. It makes it impossible for our companies to compete. Impossible. They're killing us. But you don't hear that from anybody else. You don't hear it from anybody else. And I watch the speeches. Thank you. I watch the speeches of these people, and they say, the sun will rise, the moon will set, all sorts of wonderful things will happen. And people are saying, what's going on? I just want a job. Just get me a job. I don't need the rhetoric. I want a job. And that's what's happening. And it's going to get worse because remember, Obamacare really kicks in 2016. Obama is going to be out playing golf. He might even be on one of my courses. I would invite him. I actually would say. I have the best courses in the world, so I'd say, you know what, if he wants to, I have one right next to the White House, right on the Potomac. If he'd like to play, that's fine. In fact, I'd love him to leave early and play. That would be a very good thing. But Obamacare kicks in 2016. Really big league. It is going to be amazingly destructive. Doctors are quitting. I have a friend who's a doctor, and he said to me the other day, Donald, I never saw anything like it. I have more accountants than I have nurses. It's a disaster. My patients are beside themselves. They had a plan that was good. They have no plan now. We have to repeal Obamacare, and it can be replaced. And it can be replaced with something much better for everybody. Let it be for everybody, but much better and much less expensive. For
All right, this is Donald Trump making an announcement. We'll take our time out now. We'll come back with more with Steve Sabludowsky. We'll let you know what the Donald announces. You're listening to WGSO 990 AM and, of course, WGSO.com. If you want to chime in, 504-556-9696. Hitting issues such as China, talking about the border, talking about U.S. standing in the world declining, talking about Iraq and the war there being a mistake, and that Iran is certainly benefiting. Putin is benefiting, and seemingly on the verge of announcing, and we'll get you the information as to whether he's going to do it or not, and hitting Obamacare big time. So we'll get your thoughts. But first, let's take care of some business. It's ringside right here on WGSO. Join us Thursday night for Politics with a Punch. It's Louisiana's version of Politically Incorrect. It's a kickoff to our 14th season at the Eiffel Society, 2040 St. Charles Avenue. Doors open at 6 for dining and networking. The show starts at 8. Our great panel includes former Governor Edwin Edwards, wannabe Governor John Bell Edwards, and Seafood King Al Scramuzza. I serve as host of this great panel, and I want you to be there. Tickets available at the door or for a discount at ringsidepolitics.com. See ya Thursday night.
On the East Bank and West Bank, from the lake to the Gulf, the men and women of the Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office keep our parish safe. Some are on the beat, others behind the scenes, ensuring the safety of our community. JPSO is now looking for correctional officers and 911 dispatchers. Your community's calling. Answer the call. Visit jpsojobs.com for the complete benefits package and salary.
This is Pastor Donald R. Jones.
And this is Gerard Stevens, part of the WGSO family, each weekday, Monday through Friday from 1 p.m. until 3 p.m. with Talk What You Know, here on WGSO 990 AM.
Join me, Greg Douglas, on Fan to Fan Radio, your college sports headquarters in New Orleans, Wednesdays, 7 p.m. on WGSO 990 and WGSO.com.
Hi, this is Jim Spyro. Join me every Wednesdays from 5 to 6 p.m. on 990 WGSO or WGSO.com. Remember, your influence counts. Use it. See you then.
What are you doing to stop traffic when your business is ready to wow the pants off customers? Visit Sir Speedy. We produce quality signs, posters, banners, and more that are just the trick for trade shows, promotions, events, and product launches. Whether you're taking it to the street, the floor, or the counter, bigger is always better. For more information or to get a quote, go to SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com.
If you're chomping at the bit to give your opinion, don't horse around. Call Ringside Politics with a Punch. Grab the reins now by calling Jeff Crouere at 556-9696.
My life, I've heard that a truly successful person, a really, really successful person, and even modestly successful, cannot run for public office. Just can't happen. And yet that's the kind of mindset that you need to make this country great again. So, ladies and gentlemen, I am officially running for President of the United States, and we are going to make our country great again.
All right. So after that build-up, he did announce for president. Good timing there. We were able to get our break in, come back, and he made his announcement. Officially announcing for president of the United States. All right. Let's bring back our special guest, ringside all-star publisher of Bayoubuzz.com, to get his thoughts, Steve Sabludowsky. So, Steve, you heard his speech. He made his announcement, and he teased those people there for quite a while. Your thoughts?
Well, it's one of those special moments in life. People will say, "Where were you when Donald Trump announced?" And I'll say, "I was here, right here in WGSO Radio."
Yeah,
and Bayoubuzz webcast. I mean, life is good. Look. He's a clown. Okay, he's a joke. He'll do very well in the primary, and I'm glad he's in there.
Because you think he'll generate a lot of support? Really?
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I think that he started to last 4 years ago, and so I think that he will again. The problem is,
he didn't run then, though. I mean, he
but he
talked
was,
about it then.
He was revving up to it.
Yeah.
As he did 4 years before that and 4 years before that. But the problem I see is that if he's a serious candidate for president, I'm not saying that I disagree with the general principles of what
probably
he's saying.
Some of what he said you would have to agree with. Some of what he said is undeniably true.
Absolutely, but it's the facts that I think are. That he is always going to have to, be fact checked, and he's always going to. I didn't mean that. That's not what I meant. For an example, saying that the Obama website doesn't work. Well, had he said that a year and a half ago, he would absolutely have been correct. Does it work now? Well, those people who are using it 99% of the time, it works for them. Whether Obamacare works or not, that's we can debate that.
Well, but I think the $5 billion figure is probably accurate. It did cost an incredible amount of money.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Well, what I'm saying is he says it doesn't work now.
Yeah.
Okay. And
now, it does have glitches. I read that there was a glitch recently.
Every website has a glitch. I'm not saying that.
But for $5 billion, you shouldn't have many.
Yeah, but he can do it for $3. Give me a break. I know a little bit about websites. He might know some about hotels, and he may have millions of websites around the world. But I got to tell you,
$3,
and those are the kind of statements. Hyperbole.
He probably should have said 3,000. I think you can get a website.
Oh, come on, you're not going to get a website.
You can get something that's on the internet.
You're not going to get a website that is going to accommodate. Okay, the millions of people at one time.
No, one that works. One that maybe for one of his businesses.
The website,
you can probably get a website for less than that.
$300. Those are the kind of things that I think he's going to come back, and it's going to come back and haunt him real big. And so ISIS hotel. Explain to me. If we have a ISIS hotel under construction, it's not being bombed. Shame on us.
We had convoys of ISIS there in the desert. They were doing a parade. We didn't bomb them. We had all kinds of opportunities to take out ISIS.
ISIS hotel? Come on.
That's the first I've heard
ISIS
of it.
Hotel.
But his comments that Iran is really gaining more influence in Iraq. How can you dispute that?
Look, he's great for Saturday Night Live. He's perfect. You ought to just do that. Because I think that, he'll be, everybody knows then that he's kind of kidding.
Listen, I think he's got a lot more experience than Barack Obama. I think he's a lot more qualified to be president than Barack Obama. I really do. He's done deals all over the world. He's 69 years old. He's had decades of experience dealing with leaders all over the world.
I'm not going to disagree with that. I'm not going to disagree. And let me tell you this. I think he has a whole lot more business experience than any of the people, and just about anybody. And he certainly has a whole lot of television experience, and he knows how to fire people. So, and he knows about hotels.
Hey, and in a bureaucracy, you got to fire a lot of people. And
absolutely.
That's the problem in government. We don't seem to fire people.
But he's a joke, and that's the problem. He is a joke.
Well,
what he says,
Steve, I think Obama's a joke, and we'll see if the American people think.
Look again. Let me just say this.
Hey, he's in there, and I'm glad he's running.
Hopefully, we will find somebody who has experience in business, who has experience in websites, who has experience in government, and not the jokers that follow that are Donald Trump. Wait, Donald Trump
look who the Democrats, Steve. Look who the Democrats are offering. Hillary Clinton.
And look at the Republicans.
You want to say joke? I mean, does that woman have a shred of integrity, honesty? I think she's got none.
I think that she is far from being my choice, and I think they ought to ask her questions about her email account, and I want to know all that. I mean, because right now I think it's a joke.
All right.
The competition so far, it's a joke. But
let's get some of these calls in.
But just tell me who the Republicans have.
They've got 12 candidates that are officially in the race now.
I understand that. Okay, so
and
tell
Steve,
me.
I would take every one of them over Obama
experience.
And Clinton.
Tell me which one. Tell me which one has experience. Does Ted Cruz have experience? Does Bobby Jindal have experience? They don't have experience.
But Steve, Hillary Clinton's got decades of the wrong type of experience.
I understand. Well, there is at least one or two people that I think in the Republican Party who do have experience who are running. Who I believe are running. At least.
I think you've got several people like Rick Perry's been governor of Texas for 14 years.
What kind of federal experience? He doesn't remember, what type of.
Texas has been a great success story. I don't think you can say Texas hasn't done well. They've done very well.
I think the
Texas
Senate
is one of our largest states, Steve.
I think the senator from South Carolina. I think the governor from Illinois.
Lindsey Graham, you like him?
Yeah, I do. I think he has good experience. I think he has very strong experience. Well, that's fine. I think he has very strong experience in federal government. And guess what? The United States president is
look at what we've done. Carter, Reagan, Clinton, those were all governors. I don't think you have to have federal experience. Certainly, I think the most successful one of all of those, Ronald Reagan, in my view, didn't have any federal experience. So I think you look at somebody like a Perry, who's done a great job as governor. I think he's a strong candidate. I like Walker, what he's done in Wisconsin. My goodness, he's had an incredible success story there as governor. I certainly wouldn't put Bobby Jindal on the list. I don't think he's been successful. And Jeb Bush, I just disagree with him fundamentally on the issues. So I don't put him at the top of the list. I agree. You can make a criticism about Rubio and Cruz and Paul that they don't have a lot of experience in elective office, which is what we've seen certainly with Obama and his problems. But I think again, I agree with them on a lot of the issues. Let's try to get some of these. Let's try to get some of these calls in. 504-556-9696. A few minutes. And then we got another guest joining us. Pete in Algiers has got some comments he wants to share with us. Pete, welcome aboard.
Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good morning, my friend.
Oh, listen, when I hear that word joke, I just like to ask Steve. Steve, would you ever have the courage to put yourself on the line and run for political office, knowing that people like you are going to be making fun of you and belittling you and making you and try to make you into a fool? I don't think you'd ever have the courage to even get out there and do it. You need to respect the people that do, and the liberals especially, how they tear down people, good, honest, decent people who are putting themselves on their line and their money and their families to serve. To serve. That's right, to serve.
So what's your point? What's your point? I don't get your point.
Well, my point is, I'd like you to quit calling them jokes and put down people like that.
So is it okay for me to Is it okay for me to call Democratic candidates jokes? Is it okay for me to do that?
No, I don't think it is okay for you to do that.
Okay.
I mean, I just think it's disrespectful. I really do. Well, now, if they really were a joke, that's a different story.
Okay, Peter. Well, I respect what you're saying. Go on.
But it's your opinion.
All right.
It's your opinion, and you can have your opinion. But you know what, the way, and it stems way back with the Clintons. Anybody who was opposed to them was a joke. Anybody who was opposed to them was torn down. Not only torn down, but belittled. You remember Sarah Palin. Now she's considered to be a joke by a lot of the people because she was called a joke so much by the liberal media and by the liberal politicians and just liberal.
Well, you know, they did it. They did it years before to a guy named Dan Quayle. I mean, a guy who I had the pleasure of meeting and working with, and he wasn't a joke.
These are highly respected people in their fields, and for you to say, I take issue with what you said. I wish the Republicans would come up with a guy who had experience in business, knew how to run the. We had that last time in Romney. He had so much more experience than this guy Obama.
Yeah,
it wasn't a joke.
Well, let me get your thoughts on Trump, Pete. So, what do you make of him officially jumping into the race?
I think it's great. I think anybody who wants to do it should do it. I love his courage to stand up against the president when so many people bow down and kiss his ring. You know what? We need men like that who are willing to speak out, even though they are wealthy, even though they are on the news media, and even though they know they're going to be called a joke by ignoramuses. It's really sad.
Okay, so excuse me, and I'm assuming that you're calling me an ignoramus. I'm assuming that you're doing that because
I could only say that. I wasn't calling you an ignoramus.
Well, I call what Trump was doing as a joke.
All right. We've got Pete. I appreciate you, my friend. We're going to try to squeeze in a few more quick ones because we have another guest we have to get to. Rick in Metairie. Welcome aboard, sir. Good morning.
Morning. You talking to me?
Yes, sir. We have limited time. Rick, your thoughts?
Yeah, real quick. Look, man, I agree with everything Donald Trump said, and he's the only candidate that came out and said it like he was as far as the economy and China and our nuclear and our military. And the second of, I don't think it's funny that Steve made a joke about the $3 website. That's a figure of speech, just like you say, it's raining cats and dogs, man. Look, I'm glad he's in there, man. And I tell you what, if he does win, he might be the one to get this country back working and everybody back on their daggum feet instead of being in the daggum poorhouse and buying everything from all these damn foreign countries.
I think we all have to agree. He's been successful in business and he's been successful in the media. He's had a successful TV show. He's had a very successful career as a businessman. I don't think he's ever run for office before. We'll see if he is successful as a presidential candidate. But, Steve, you would have to agree, the guy knows a lot about winning and success.
No doubt about it. And like I told you, I'm glad he's in the race. Okay? So, but I personally consider that when you give a speech announcing that you're running for president, you know, you don't engage in hyperbole. You engage in facts.
All right. One more quick one, and let's give it to James in Metairie. All right, James. Go ahead, sir.
Jeff, good morning. Hi, Steve. You're right, Steve. This guy's the lead clown in the Republican clown car. You know, he may not be playing the race card, but, Jeff, he certainly will be playing the Trump card. And maybe he could loan one of his ex-wives to Lindsey Graham, who would need one.
Why? Why? I mean, he's a bachelor. Why would he need a wife?
Just a little humor here.
Okay.
Hey, Steve, I don't know if you were listening earlier today, but we had some despicable conservative caller call up today and tell Jeff. This guy said he got nauseous, Steve, and wanted to throw up every time he saw Hillary Clinton's big butt put into a cheap pantsuit. Now, I wonder if that caller who was just berating
Steve, sure. I was just thinking that, yeah.
You know, I mean, the guy who was just berating you and saying, "Why don't you be respectful?" Why didn't he say about the guy who talked about Hillary Clinton's big butt?
Yeah, James, and I'm glad you raised that, because, quite frankly, I hear many of the callers. Many of the callers are very respectful, I must say. There are some who are going to call people commies, okay, who are going to call people the worst things that I can imagine in the world. And the example you gave, I think, is a real good example. So,
all right. With that, unfortunately, we must conclude festivities. Steve Sabludowsky, thank you very much. I'll have a column for you later on today. That's BayouBuzz.com. Check it out. And, of course, join us Thursday night for Politics with a Punch. Thank you, Steve. All right, Wayne Allen Root going to be joining us next right here on Ringside. Hang on.